The Autoimmune Connection is a web series dedicated to all things autoimmune, with hosts Kirstie Muttitt of A Clean Plate, Emma King of The Bacon Mum, Kate J. of Healing Family Eats, and Rory Linehan of The Paleo PI, interviewing new guests every episode. We're bringing patients, practitioners, friends, and family together to connect the dots between diet, lifestyle, and autoimmune disease.
Thyroid disease on the autoimmune protocol, and I'm your host Kate J from healingfamilyeats.com. I'm so excited to be sitting here in Kirstie Muttitt's hot seat and talking about all things thyroid, because it's something that's very close to my heart. And I've got three fantastic AIP bloggers who I know it'll mean something to them as well. And I want to introduce to you Kirstie Muttitt, Mickey Trescott, and Sophie Van Tiggelen. Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Nice to see you, Kate.
Nice to see you, Sophie. So I gave my introduction 2 weeks ago when Christina interviewed myself and Rory and Emma for the new Autoimmune Connection series that's just started. So I'll just be very brief and say that I have a diagnosis of hypothyroidism. I was given that about 15, 16 years ago. And just got along and took my white pill. But then last year, I noticed I had symmetrical swelling on my my wrists, on my thumb joints, and also sensitivity in my ankles. So I went to my doctor, and he told me that I was absolutely fine. I had tests for rheumatoid arthritis, and I had more thyroid testing, and everything seemed okay. So he said nothing to worry about. So I went home, and I obviously thought, I think I've got something I really should be worrying about, and I got onto the internet, and it was then that I found out about the AIP. And it was actually Mickey's blog that was my first port of call. So we jumped on board. The whole family are doing the AIP together, and we jumped on board, and that was almost a year ago now. And I have to say, within probably 2 weeks of starting the AIP protocol, I had no joint pain. My swelling was starting to come down, and now almost a year in, I've got virtually no swelling whatsoever. So I put everything down to the AIP, and I can't say enough happy things about it. So that's pretty much my story. How about you ladies? Mickey, do you want to start off and tell us about you?
Sure. So I came to the autoimmune protocol about 3.5 years ago now. I was diagnosed with both celiac and Hashimoto's disease, and I have a whole long story on my blog, but basically I'd been vegan for 10 years, and I was very nutrient deficient, very depleted, and I made the decision to change my diet and start eating meat in addition to giving up all these foods that I had made my staple in my diet. So beans, legumes, and those kind of things. And over time, it totally changed my life to the point where when I went back to work, I decided that I wanted to start cooking again, and I started my blog, and I eventually wrote a cookbook called Autoimmune Paleo Cookbook. So today I do everything I can to help spread the word and provide recipes and resources for people who want to eat AIP.
Steve, do you want to say a few words?
So I was diagnosed about 2.5 years ago, and with Hashimoto's, and that time has really flown. Actually, it feels. I was looking up my my medical notes the other day to try and get a date for when I was diagnosed. So yeah, it's 2.5 years ago, and my doctor was great. She picked it up straight away, for which I'm really grateful, and she just prescribed me thyroxine and said you'll have to take this every day, and I was like, okay, well that's, if that's going to solve my problem, then that's fine, I'm happy to do that. So yeah, I thought that was going to be the end of the story, and I started kind of Googling a little bit about it, and I came across a blogger called Sarah Wilson, who's quite big here in Australia, and that's when I came across Mickey Trescott and the AIP, and just kind of started doing a little bit of research and letting the ideas settle in my brain that perhaps that pill isn't the answer to all my problems, and that diet might actually be a huge help for me. So that was where it all started for me, with Mickey Trescott and then Phoenix Helix as well. And yeah, just started learning more and took it from there, really.
Cool. It's a running theme, Mickey. We're all finding you. That's so fantastic. Sophie, do you want to finish off?
Hi everyone, my name is Sophie Van Tiggelen, and I have been diagnosed in 2009 with Hashimoto thyroiditis. At first I went gluten-free, thinking that it would solve all my problems, but my health continued to deteriorate. And in 2012, in May of 2012, I decided to go paleo, in the hope of, bettering all my symptoms. And 3 months later, in August of 2012, I went full AIP, and I haven't looked back since then. I have been on strict full AIP, and I have reintroduced a few foods here and there, like a few nuts, some eggs sometimes, and a little bit of chocolate. But otherwise, I'm just cruising on AIP. And I don't feel the need to reintroduce any other food. I'm blogging at A Squirrel in the Kitchen, where I share mostly French-inspired recipes. And I started blogging because I felt the need to share and to show everyone that the autoimmune protocol is not boring at all. There is a vast array of foods, nutrient-dense food and colorful foods that you can choose from, and you can still eat like a gourmet on the AIP diet.
Yeah, I totally agree. I haven't done any reintroductions yet, and I don't actually feel the need. I'm very happy. I'm not desperate at all. So, Kirstie, you said that you got your diagnosis really, really quickly, and so did I, actually. It was funny when I got my diagnosis because, as I said in 2 weeks ago in the other episode, I found that I was losing control in my wrists, and I was reading the Sunday papers, and somebody was writing an article saying that they were about to have surgery for repetitive strain injury in their wrists when somebody mentioned that they should get their thyroid checked. And so, because my mother had has hypothyroidism herself, I just thought, well, yeah, it's a genetic thing. There's a very strong likelihood that I've got it too. And I went to my doctor, and I'm not overweight. I wasn't exhibiting many symptoms, but I just did have this thing. And I said to the doctor, can I have a thyroid test? And so I did. And then a week or two later, he diagnosed hypothyroidism, gave me my pills, and that was it, really. So it was all done and dusted. How about you, Mickey? Was it a quick process for you?
It took about 9 months to get diagnosed, and I had the first health problem that I ever had. It was when I was 26, and I had a mini seizure, and when I woke up, my heart was beating erratically, and it was like the first thing that made me think, okay, like something's wrong, because before that point, I had very small symptoms that I didn't really pay attention to because I was young. But once I had that experience, I went to the doctor, and of course, because I wasn't overweight, they really overlooked the possibility of thyroid. And it wasn't until I had my symptoms for about 6 to 7 months and had done a lot of Googling on my own that I went to the doctor. No, I'm pretty sure this is thyroid. I think you need to do more testing, more involved testing. And they did, and they found the antibodies, and I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's. But it was actually another year until I was given medication, because then the next battle was, well, your thyroid levels are normal, so it doesn't matter, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But yeah, that's how I got diagnosed.
Yeah. So in that week before you, in that year before you got the medication, did you find that your health deteriorated at all, or was it?
It didn't until I found AIP. So I actually deteriorated for about 4 months, and then I was on AIP for about 5 or 6 months, and then I went on medication well after I had started and started making a lot of improvements with AIP.
Yeah, that's great. How about you, Sophie?
I was diagnosed with Hashimoto in 2009 because after a minor outpatient surgery, suddenly I started having like panic attacks, severe anxiety, insomnia, heart palpitations, I was in a really bad state, and I had to go several times to the emergency room, and nobody could find what was wrong with me. I went to see several doctors. They ran different tests, and then one day, one of the doctors ran a blood test for my thyroid, and we discovered that I had antibodies. And so that's when I got my diagnostic, and it took about 6 months.
Do you take medication for it now?
Yes, but I didn't take thyroid medication immediately. I started working with a functional medicine practitioner when I got my diagnosis, but we tried to make it work with natural supplements. And it's only in 2011, so 2 years later, actually, that I was put on Armour Thyroid.
Right. What sort of dosage do you take?
I take 45 milligrams per day. So one little pill for me is 30 milligrams. I take one pill of 30 milligrams in the morning when I wake up, away from food. And then I take another half pill of 15 milligrams in the middle of the afternoon. And this is helping to mimic the natural release, actually, of the thyroid hormones in your body. Instead of having everything like in a big dosage at the beginning of the day, it's more sustained. So okay. I take it twice a day.
How do you remember to take it the second time during the day? The first thing in the morning is easy, but what about in the afternoon?
Well, at the beginning I was using the alarm clock on my phone.
Okay.
As simple as that.
Mickey, are you on medication?
Yes, I take synthetic compounded medication. I used to take Armour, but then I started making antibodies to the Armour, and I started feeling worse, so my doctor suggested a switch, and it works great. And I used to take T3 and T4, and then I started reacting to the T3, and so I take T4 only now.
Okay. Kirstie, you on meds?
Yeah, I take 75 milligrams of thyroxine, and I'm really fine with that. I think the combination of the thyroxine and the AIP has really got me straight on track with my health. So I've got no problems with taking the hormone that my body needs at all. So yeah.
I'm taking thyroxine as well. I take 50, and I've 50 micrograms, and I've taken the same dosage right from the very start, which was about 16 years ago or so. But you know that it's got fillers in it. It's got cornstarch, which is likely GMO. It's got lactose as well. So I'm absolutely desperate to get off and get onto something else, a compound that doesn't have the fillers. And my functional practitioner is going to help me to do that, because I'm so strict with my diet, and yet I'm having these things in my pill every morning. So I'm not on a strict AIP diet because of my medication. Yeah.
Yeah. Point, actually.
Yeah, it's something to think about, isn't it? So how about your thyroid advice, and how do you keep up to date with everything that's going on, and what we should be doing, and what we should know about thyroid disease? And how about you, Mickey? Do you want to start us with that?
Yeah, so I actually have always had to really fight for my care because I don't appear like the traditional thyroid. Different symptoms. I have a lot of neurological symptoms, a lot of mood symptoms with my Hashimoto's, and I don't have a lot of the weight gain. I found it very hard to find a practitioner who wanted to medicate me or was willing to medicate me and kind of work on the dosage and stuff. So I ended up finding a naturopath, and I worked with her to get on medication and find my dose. And then now I actually work with an MD, and it was very easy to go to her and say, this is working, go to prescription, please. And so that's where I'm at now. But in the beginning, working with that naturopath, it was like every visit I was coming in armed with information about my lab work and trying to convince her that I needed treatment. And ultimately, it's what worked. But it was very difficult.
Yeah. Any comments from Sophie, Kirstie? Do you want to say anything about that?
In terms of educating myself, I guess I don't have a functional doctor that I go to. I do have an acupuncturist, so yeah, she kind of leads me or helps me, I guess, with any health issues that I've got, really. And apart from that, it is all just about research. So, and it tends to be the bloggers, people that have kind of been there and done that. So Phoenix Helix, I mentioned, Mickey Trescott, I mentioned, there's quite a few out there, and they're amazing, the research that they do and put out there. And I often find that it's just, it gives me a place to start and a place to start experimenting for things for my own health. And also, Dartis Karazian is amazing, I think, on thyroid and brain health. He's just, fantastic. Chris Kresser, I find really interesting. There's a lot of podcasts as well that I like to listen to try and get the most up-to-date information that I can, really.
Yeah, totally agree. How about managing autoimmune disease on a day-to-day level? Is there anything that any of you do to sort of manage your thyroid disease? Anything that goes hand in hand with it? Anything that you know helps your symptoms? Sophie?
Sure. The way I manage my autoimmune disease, I like to use an analogy, a metaphor, and it is a metaphor that has been given to me by my functional medicine practitioner, and I see it as a three-legged stool. So, one leg of the stool is the diet, the autoimmune protocol and all the food I'm eating. Another leg of the stool is the exercise part. The third leg of the stool is the supplementation, because I do take a few supplements to help and support my health in general, like vitamins, fish oil, vitamin D, and I also do have a few supplements for my thyroid. And then the seat of the stool, if you want, is everything that is relaxation and meditation. So these are the four facets of the way I manage my autoimmune disease. And I think that they are all very important. You can just do one of them. It's a synergy. And I don't do all of them every day perfectly. I'm just aiming of doing, every day something that is good for myself. And that's the way I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Kirstie, I cut you off. Sorry.
That's okay. I was just going to say about sleep. Like, sleep's a huge one for me, and I need to get between 8 and 10 hours of sleep a night, and I know that if I get under 8, then I'm really not going to be functioning as well as I can be. So sleep's a huge one. Stress is a huge one. So meditation really does help. That's something that I just picked up in the last probably 3 months or so. I've started meditating maybe once or twice a day, and that's really, really quite fantastic, actually, the effects it has in terms of just relaxing my mind. Like, my mind's quite busy. It's quite a busy brain, so that really helps, as well as obviously, the diet. But I think if you don't have the lifestyle factors sorted out, then diet can only take you so far. So that's what the whole of AIP is about for me, I think. There's a big recognition out there in the community that it's diet, but it's also lifestyle as well.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I feel like I've cracked the food, but I do need to address some of the other things, and I'm well aware of that, and that's something that I need to tackle. Sleep would be lovely, but in this house it's just not happening. For some reason, nobody else wants to sleep for sort of 10 hours a day, so I get what I can. I probably get about 8 hours sleep, and I would love to have more, because I know that I find it easier to get up in the morning if I've had that bit more sleep. But I've also taken steps in the house. We've got a water filter. We know that we've got pure, uncontaminated water, because actually the water in Vancouver is pretty good, but it's still got chlorine in it. And depending on where you are, you've either got chlorine, fluoride, or some other chemical coming through to supposedly clean up your water, but actually it's a whole load of bad stuff going into as well. We've installed filters on our showers as well, because apparently if you shower in chlorinated water, it's worse than having several glasses of it out of the tap. I'm really careful about what I cook in. I don't cook in, you say aluminum, I say aluminium pans. I don't use aluminium foil, anything like that, and I've given the kids stainless steel lunch boxes rather than plastic, or even the BPA free, which is not brilliant. It might be free of BPA, but it certainly isn't free of other things. So I'm really careful about what I put my food into. I think that's it for me, really. I mean, got more to address, but that's what we're working on. Exercise, I definitely need to do that, and I've got a friend actually who works in a meditation center, and she's getting me involved in that. So I'm really keen to do that, because relaxation is on the list as well. How about you, Mickey? What do you do?
Yeah, I think you guys covered most of what I do, especially like Sophie said, you know, the 4 pillars. Like I'm in the same boat. I really have to balance everything, and sometimes I go through phases like Sophie where one doing one and another thing I'm just not, and so it's just a matter of actually, you know, the diet at this point isn't hard for me. It's managing my stress, getting enough sleep, and those kind of things that really are ground zero for me in long-term management of my autoimmunity. And that's actually where I see, if I falter in taking care of myself with the lifestyle components, I will see symptoms crop up right away, where, as I found, especially being on the road for the past 6 weeks, traveling, eating lots of foods that maybe aren't ideal, but I've been surprised at how resilient my body has been in that area, but how not resilient I've been at managing when I don't get enough sleep or when I let the stress get out of control. So.
Yeah. So when you get your symptoms back, are they the original symptoms that you had that alerted you to thyroid problems?
No, because back then I definitely didn't know what I know now, and so before I even got diagnosed, or before I even had the first episode that made me think something was wrong, I had symptoms, and I know them now, but back then I had no idea. So I might feel a little tingling in my fingertips. I might notice that I'm feeling a little dizzy or uneasy. Nausea is something that kind of happens to me, and then just insomnia. So it's kind of ironic, when you don't sleep enough, you kind of, at least for me, when I don't sleep enough, it's like my urgency goes so much that then it becomes really stressful, and then I'm actually further unable to sleep, so it's kind of like a vicious cycle.
Yeah, I've still got thyroid symptoms, which is how I know that, you know, the medication really isn't working, because I've got all the symptoms that someone would have if they hadn't even been diagnosed. I've got the thin eyebrows, you know, the outer corners are not very covered. I've got still really, really dry skin, insomnia as well. I can wake up in the middle of the night, which may not be necessarily totally down to my thyroid. It could be other things like adrenals. But I'm being tested for all these things. Actually, my diagnosis is hypothyroidism, but I really want to know whether I've had Hashis all this time. So I'm going to have the full thyroid panel from my functional practitioner, because my doctor won't give me that because I fall within the range, the acceptable range of TSH. So I've never actually had a proper full thyroid panel. So I can't wait to get that and see exactly what's going on, and then really address my thyroid problems. How about you, Kirstie?
Oh, sorry, what was the question?
The question is, are you still having any thyroid symptoms? Or are they there the whole time, or do they come back if you know, all goes slightly wrong, stress?
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm 100% optimal, I guess, but I know that I'm not having the same symptoms that I was having when I was first diagnosed. So I would have extreme fatigue to the point of not being able to get out of bed, and you know, that's awful, and muscle pains and brain fog, and I literally felt like my IQ had been reduced by 50% when I was, you know, before I had worked out what was going on. And in touch wood, I don't feel like that anymore, as long as, yeah. And the last time I guess I felt like that was when I tried to introduce almonds after being on the AIP for about 3 months, I think it was, and I immediately got those symptoms back, so I just stopped eating almonds. And yeah, so pretty much I think my symptoms are in check, but I'm really very vigilant about keeping them in check as well. So I'm really, if I'm feeling tired, if I've arranged to meet a friend and I know that will just push me over the edge, then I'll say I'm sorry and cancel that. So I'm quite strict, I guess, with my energy levels and stress levels and looking after myself in that way. So touch wood, I don't often get that many symptoms.
Yeah, that's good. You have to keep a check on everything, don't you? Otherwise, it's just a slippery slope, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a subject that I want to mention that's very close to my heart because as I said, that I'm still going through proper thyroid testing. I'm also getting my daughter, who's 11, I'm getting her tested as well. And I see, back when I was a child, my mother was on thyroxine for her thyroid problems. But it wouldn't have occurred to her that, there's a genetic element to this, and maybe, it would be a good idea to get me tested when I was young, or, suggest that I got tested when I was a teenager even. But for my daughter, my husband's mother is also hypothyroid, so I think she probably doesn't stand much of a chance. Although, having said that, she's on the AIP, so hopefully, that's well, I'm sure it's doing a lot of good for her. But I've just had her tested, so I think the testing is looking pretty good at the moment, but it's certainly something that I'm going to be on top of, and making sure that, we're sure that her thyroid levels are maintained, and she's not sort of showing any autoimmune disease issues for her future. I like to think that's my gift to her for her future health. Sophie, I know that you've got 3 daughters. Have you done anything or suggested anything to them about thyroid?
So yes, I have 3 daughters, 16, 18, and 20 years old, and they are also seeing my functional practitioner. We do yearly blood tests to check their thyroid levels and their antibodies. So I'm touching wood. So far, they do not have developed any antibodies, but they do have, all 3 of them, a hypothyroid. So they do receive supplements to support their thyroid function, and they kind of have been forced to go on paleo because I'm the one cooking at home, and everybody is on the same diet. So when they are at home, they will eat the same way I do eat. And when they are outside of the house, sometimes they will go and buy themselves a snack, or I don't know actually what they are buying. I don't want to know. But we are trying to instill into them, good practices and the basic of good nutrition.
Yeah, that's cool. Have you noticed any difference since they've been on the medication? So it's not really a medication for them, it's supplements. And okay. When they don't take it, they feel low energy. So yes, definitely there is a difference. Yeah, okay, that's great. Mm-hmm. So we round off this with a little bit of fun, because we've been talking quite seriously about our autoimmune diseases, which is quite a serious subject, obviously, and we need to lighten the mood. So I've got to tell you, one of my questions to you, which made me think afterwards that I probably shouldn't be having these, because if my thyroid medication was doing its stuff, it would be an issue. But my husband says to me quite frequently when I do certain things, "Are you having a thyroid moment then?" And I just wondered if you had thyroid moments as well. I can go into a room with the express intention of collecting something, and I get to that room and I suddenly think, oh, why am I here? I've got no clue why I'm here. So I have to go back out again and then come again when I've realized that what it is that I'm supposed to be getting. So that's one of my thyroid moments. And also my glasses. I wear glasses sometimes, and I always keep them in the very same place in the kitchen, and I still manage to lose them. So again, husband says, "Are you having a thyroid moment?" When I have to say to him, "You've got to help me look at my glasses because I can't see, so I can't find them." So how about you, Sophie? Have you got any weird moments or any fun facts about yourself?
Well, weird moments, I used to have them. Now it's gotten really much better. I used to have a really bad memory, exactly like you. But you know, it's better now. But another fun fact I wanted to share with you guys is, I don't know if you noticed, but I do have an accent, and that's because I'm speaking French. It's my native language. And one of the most difficult words actually for me to learn in English were the number 3, because I have a really hard time pronouncing 3, and also the roar of the lion. I really had a hard time learning that.
Cool. Mickey?
Really cute. I actually realized we have a lot of different accents here. I think none of us speak similarly, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I know, we're pretty cosmopolitan, aren't we?
Yeah. So I don't really have a thyroid moment, but I have gluten moments. I was actually just thinking of this. When I get glutened, I have severe emotional meltdowns to the point where I will be on the floor sobbing because my pork chops didn't stop, and my friend will be like, "Oh no, I know what's going on here. We need to get you to bed." So yeah, that's kind of if I've eaten somewhere and got some cross contamination or something, that will definitely happen to me. It's not fun.
Okay. Kirstie?
Going off just outside my window, so hopefully you can hear me okay. So yeah, I don't really have Hashimoto's moments so much anymore, or thyroid moments, but I do like to blame things on Hashimoto's. I find it's quite a handy get-out clause. So pretty much anything that goes wrong, if it suits me, I will blame my Hashimoto's, and yeah.
Yeah, it can be quite confusing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's all I have to say about that. But yeah, so touch wood again, like I don't really, honestly, truthfully, I don't really have Hashimoto's moments that much anymore, so I'm pretty lucky.
Cool. I think that kind of wraps it up, actually. Has anybody got anything that they feel that I've missed out or they want to say before we wrap it up? About all things thyroid? Some resources?
Yeah.
Cool.
So like my favorite thyroid resources can be podcasts, and what I'll do actually is I have like 10 or so podcasts that I listen to that are maybe not thyroid specific, but they have some episodes that have a lot of good information about thyroid. And so a couple of those would be the Paleo Mom, which I've actually been a recent guest on, and we talked pretty in-depth about thyroid. And also Underground Wellness, Sean Croxton, he has a lot of information, a lot of guests that talk about thyroid. How about you guys?
I think that, I tell you what we've been looking at with my daughter's thyroid results. We haven't seen the functional practitioner yet, but we've been looking at Susie Cohen's website, and she gives a thyroid converter, so you can make head or tail of some of the results that we've been looking at. And also, Kirstie mentioned earlier, Dr. Datis Karazian has a really good book about why my thyroid meds aren't working. That's really good. It's pretty scientific, can be quite heavy going at some stage, but it's really good results to have, I think. Yeah. Sophie, have you got any?
The same as Mickey and yourself, Kate, but I would like also to mention a podcast that I really like. Is a new podcast of Eileen Laird at Phoenix Helix, and I love her podcast. I love her simple, down-to-earth approach, and a mix of professional in the medical field and real-life stories. So I would definitely recommend it.
Okay, that's great. Well, thanks everyone. I know there's been a lot in my ear. I don't know about everybody else, but I've had quite a lot of sort of ambient noise going on. So I'm hoping that doesn't come out for you watching at home. I'm really hoping about that. But that wraps up the Autoimmune Connection for today. And if you found what we had to say useful, then maybe you could click that subscribe button. And also, we'd love to hear your comments. So I just want to end by saying that the AIP community is massive. It's really, really growing. And it's a very, very supportive community as well. So if you're watching this and you may feel that you don't have the kind of support that you'd really like, or you want to reach out and find places where you can get more information. So Sarah Valentine's website that Mickey and Sophie touched on earlier is a really good place to start. She has a paleo approach approved bloggers list, and that's where you'll find all three of us, and you'll find many more that know how Sarah Valentine works and are sort of using their blogs to that effect. You can find them. You can go onto Facebook. You can go onto Instagram. You can find us anywhere. We're out there on social media, and we're waiting for you. We're a really, really supportive community, so don't hang back. Just come and find us. So I want to thank you for listening, and I want to thank my guests. I want to thank Sophie Van Tiggelen from The Squirrel in the Kitchen, Mickey Trescott from autoimmunepaleo.com, and Kirstie Muttitt from The Nutritionist, and me, Kate J, from Healing Family Eats.